Hi guys, it's Nunu, and I'm here to discuss Essay 1, Understanding How Hitler Rose to Power, 1,250 words or 5 pages for the essay, and you have 250 words or 1 page for the peer evaluations for this assignment worth 120 points. Okay, so our topic is Adolf Hitler. Okay, why are we discussing Adolf Hitler? Good question. Let's look at our assignment purpose. In this course, our overall topic is what flaws in the critical thinking process do individuals, groups, politicians, and entire governments make so that tyrants are able to rise to power? To help us answer this question, we're going to use Adolf Hitler, 1889 to 1945, as a vehicle, a way of understanding how tyrants rise to power. We will begin exploring our topic by gaining a clear understanding first of how a person like Hitler rose to power. All right, so in this class about critical thinking, focusing on critical thinking, I want to engage you in a real-world scenario by discussing Hitler, by understanding how the failure to engage in critical thinking on the part of individuals, groups, politicians, and entire governments made somebody like this rise to power. He looks so peaceful here in this 1933 Time cover, which is quite shocking. It's, what is it, a man and his dog, a boy and his dog. It's like this iconic image, sacred to American culture and many cultures, of a boy and his dog. And in 1933, Time published this illustration of Hitler sitting in a pleasant garden with his dog. What could people conclude from that image? Well, they could go ahead and come up with faulty deductive reasoning through what is called the syllogism, which is a 3-step thinking process, and you're dealing with deductive reasoning this week and inductive reasoning. So faulty deductive reasoning. How does it start? Well, the syllogism, the 3-step thinking process, we begin with a major premise or logical assumption, and from that we conclude, we come to a minor premise, a related logical assumption derived from the major premise, and then finally we come to a conclusion, a logical final assumption derived from the major and minor premises. So how could this be faulty deductive reasoning? Well, we'd come up with people who love their pets are usually good people. Adolf Hitler seems to love his dog. Adolf Hitler is probably a good person. So this could be one of the reasons that a tyrant like Hitler rose to power. And what is Hitler responsible for? It's hard to look at these photographs and realize that all of these different legs in here, these are all people. This is what this guy is responsible for. Okay, and in 1933, when Time published this image of Hitler, which is so iconic, a boy and his dog right here, what was going on? Well, we had Dachau, the first concentration camp was going on. So this is very, very distressing. So I'm using Adolf Hitler again as a vehicle to understand critical thinking. I want you to understand a real-world scenario of what happens when we fail to think critically. I don't want to simply give you a cut-and-dry definition of critical thinking, such as critical thinking is the ability to differentiate between fact and opinion, be aware of personal biases, which are preferences and prejudices, in order to avoid preconceptions, which are pre-made conclusions about a topic that will result in misconceptions or inaccuracies. Critical thinking is the ability to understand how people will use emotion, pathetic appeals, or pathos to persuade us to agree with their agendas and not think clearly. This is too cut and dried a definition of critical thinking, so I do want to use this real-world scenario to present another possible definition of critical thinking for you to consider. Does critical thinking begins with courage? the courage to ask questions about individuals, groups, organizations, and governments. Critical thinking requires that we overcome our fear of the consequences that may arise from asking questions. Could we fear injury or death from thinking critically? Well, this guy who's credited with critical thinking, Socrates, or being one of the people who helped us to develop this process, did suffer death from daring to ask questions. So maybe it does require courage. And this is what I want to show you without giving you just simply a cut and dried definition of critical thinking. I want you to deal with this real world scenario. Okay, so whoops, I flipped on that again. Let me go back to our assignment directions. And you need to read them very carefully. So the directions, number 1, research credible sources, not Wikipedia, on the internet, and in 1,250 words, 5 double-spaced pages in Times New Roman font size 12. Agree or disagree with this summary of how Adolf Hitler rose to power. So what is the summary? I'm clicking on it here. You need to read this very carefully and look at it, because this is the focus of your essay. Do not move away from the summary, go off topic in your paper. So number 2, the direction for your essay: develop a clear rhetorical focus, a thesis about the summary, a targeted reader group you wish to reach, and a persuasive purpose. And if you are unfamiliar with what a rhetorical focus is, view the video below, please. Okay, so I have all of our requirements here with links. I have helpful sources for you to view. And I have, of course, part 2, the peer evaluation directions, with the directions here in 1, 2, and 3, and an example. If you have any questions or concerns, I am here in inbox, all right? So please reach me right away if you have any questions or concerns about this assignment. Don't wait until a couple of days into the assignment or the day the assignment is due. That won't work. I understand that many of you are working and going to school, and I did the same thing. But you need to budget your time, all right? I'm very sympathetic to a work situation. I understand it completely, but you have a job to do as a student, okay? And you need to reach me immediately. All right. I am here if you have any questions or concerns.